Hey, buddy, my name is John Fisher. Welcome to AccreditedInvestorLeads.com. Federal Union was the original G. When we started back in October of 1990, the name of the company was Federal Union. I said to myself, we're going to be a lead bank. Sounds like a bank, doesn't it? Federal Union. And absolutely sounds like a bank. I'd bank there. And so we went to salesleads.tv when the internet age started. And then, of course, I started accumulating URLs. And what better URL? If my business is Accredited Investor Leads, what better URL or website to have than AccreditedInvestorLeads.com? The company is salesleads.tv. That's the actual mothership. But we have 35 websites. We have coinleads.com. We have goldcoinleads.com, accreditedinvestors.net, accreditedinvestors.tv. So I do a pretty good job, marketing the company. So let's talk about what sets Accredited Investor Leads apart from everybody else. Number one, we suppress against previous orders. Nothing pisses you off more than having somebody that sends you an order and there's at least 100 or 200 or 300 leads that he sold you the order previous to that or 2 orders ago. Here at accreditedinvestorleads.com/salesleads.tv, we have a suppression list. A suppression list is nothing more than the phone numbers that we have already sold you. And then when we pull a brand new order, we match against those numbers and make sure not to sell you those numbers. Another thing we'll do for you, if you do consistent business, is we ask you to give us your suppression list. So you'll give us just your phone numbers. Not only will we make sure never to sell you what we've already sold you, but we'll also make sure that we don't sell you what you already have in your database. We'll guarantee that. So that's something that these guys, my competitors, investorleads.com, clueless about suppression, and so the 2 guys out in California. And believe me, they're the kings of duplication. And there's nothing worse than having salesmen fighting over a deal. Let's talk about being a service provider for the Federal Trade Commission. We are. If you have a SAN number, we scrub for you. If you don't have a SAN number, we'll show you how to get one. If you don't want to have a SAN number, you'll sign my indemnity letter. All it says that you're the one making the calls, your responsibility, not mine. You hold me and my company harmless. The bottom line is it's there, it's going on, and the bottom line is that I don't think it's sustainable, and I hope Trump does something about it and gives exemption letters or something. But that law doesn't work. There's 250 million people on a do not call. Nevertheless, it's still a law. Another thing is that none of my competitors, and I'm talking about 2 guys out in California, and and of course investorleads.com here in Florida. They don't have a litigators list. I've got 1.4 million litigators. These are DNC litigators that will make your life miserable. These are troublemakers. These are strokers. These are guys that say they're going to go ahead and send a check. They don't send a check. Troublemakers, the troublemakers are. So it's the kind of list that you want to definitely make sure that I don't sell you any of those 1.4 million names. Once you become my client and I like you, we'll go ahead and take your database that you own already, your suppression list, and we'll say to you, hey, by the way, get rid of these guys. These are troublemakers. You don't want to have these guys in your database. And let me tell you something. You want to have a headache. I've seen the biggest guys, the toughest customers I have, be brought to their knees by these litigators. I mean, they're prolific, these guys. That's how they make their living, and you don't want to do that. Number 3, I'm the fastest guy in the country. You sign that invoice, you send me my payment. And you could do Venmo, you could do Zelle, PayPal, BankWire. I'll even take your Bitcoin. But the bottom line is you sign the invoice, you sign the indemnity, and within 30 minutes you have your leads. No one else does that. Another thing we do for you is we go ahead and we make sure that we pull out the bad states. In other words, I have states that I just don't want to sell you. And the reason being, I want that checkbook open. I don't want you getting in trouble in those states. They're overregulated, guilty till found innocent. And quite frankly, I just won't do it. Pennsylvania, Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota, Hawaii, Alabama. California came out with a law 7 years ago, I think it was, and the law states that I have to have a portal, and I have to allow the citizens of California to come into that portal and opt out. Can of worms. I don't like being regulated by anybody, and I'm not going to let California regulate me. So I just went ahead and said, from that day on, I said, fuck California. I'm not selling any more California leads. So it's a win-win. They love me because they don't have to worry about me selling their leads. And it's a win for me because I fucking can't stand California for many, many reasons, you know. And my God, what a poor excuse for a state. And just, if you want to see a fucked up state, that's as fucked up as it gets. I don't want to get political on you, but I got to tell you something. If it isn't the fires and if it isn't the crime and it just, oh my God. And I know California is beautiful, but let me tell you, that's a spooky state. They're supposed to be like, oh, the spotted owl eats the trees that are on the ground, and that's why we don't clean the trees up. And the smelts, we got to protect the smelts. So yeah, they protect the smelts, but then everything else goes up in smoke. It's just a ridiculous state. So anyway, that's not going to happen. You're not going to get California leads from me. Another reason you want to work with me is that if you have a disconnected number, we'll replace a 2-for-1. We really do that. And another thing, another reason you want to do business with me, I do diversity. I don't want to take a risk of selling you one file and then it doesn't work and, oh yeah, those leads suck. So I sell you 4 files. And there's just no way on earth you're going to tell me that if I sell you 4 people from a company that they had salesmen call them up, sold them, or send them a private placement memorandum, and you can't close those guys, that's not my problem, it's your problem. 4 different files is your problem, not mine. You may think it's a cop-out, you may think whatever. Bottom line is, it is what it is. And that's your problem. And the leads, I'm telling you right now, guys, you don't want to hear this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. The leads are as good as the people that call them. When I started out as a commodity, I used to hate that shit when I was younger. That old man story. When I was younger, and I used to, but guess what? That's what old school is. And when I started out in the commodity business, they gave us the yellow pages. So you want to bitch about leads? You try dialing yellow pages to make a living. If you can bring business in from a yellow pages, you're good. So I don't want to hear bullshit about leads. Dial them. Shut the fuck up and dial the numbers. A bad number is a disconnected number. A bad number is a number that's been sold way too many times, like the California gangs, Kentucky Fried Turkey. So believe me, I want your business. And every once in a while, something may happen and you just get a bad bunch of leads. But you know what? The old thing used to be disconnected numbers. That was the big problem. And the disconnected numbers have come down dramatically. We hardly ever get people to return disconnected numbers because we give them 2-for-1. We want the disconnected numbers so we could clean up our files. The new problem is that the iPhones and the Androids have an app that when you call them up, if you're not in their contacts, it goes straight to voicemail. And then, so the new complaint is, John, I just can't get a hold of people. And the reason you're not getting a hold of people is that the old days of buying 1,000 leads, it's over. It's a numbers game. You guys got to stop ignoring. It's a numbers game. The more numbers, the more money you make. And the bottom line is we brought our prices down to increase your numbers. The days of selling $500 worth of leads, don't even call me and beg me to sell you $500. Samples, forget it. Samples, it's an insult. Well, let me have 25 leads and if they work out, I'll buy some from you. Please. Please. So the bottom line is you're going to have to buy numbers and you're going to have to buy as many leads as possible. Our pricing, we've come down to 5,000 leads at 40 cents. For $2,000, you get 5,000 leads. Normally, you get 1,250 times 4 different files. And I feel confident that 1,250 names should be enough to be able to hit some numbers. But again, I can't help you. I don't know who has an iPhone. I don't know who has that app. I have it, the Silence Call app. And no matter who calls me, I got to call them back because it's a business. But I'm tired of the phone ringing day and night, Now, I recently put my name on this thing called Incognito, And I got to tell you, man, it's great. I haven't gotten a call from them yet, but they call list brokers and say, hey, you see this guy? Take his name off the list, you know. I did that and it worked like a champ. So I'm starting not to get calls and I'm starting not to get spam. I finally figured that out, and it's worth whatever it was. And I don't make money on referrals. So I hope I've given you nothing. By the way, you do business with me. I mean, hey, you know what? I may be a tough guy, and I may be hard ass, and I may be old school, but you know what? I've got fucking integrity, and that's what counts. If I say I'm going to do something, I fucking do it. And let's see if you have that somewhere else. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you the truth. And there's no reason why. I'm too fucking old to remember the lines anyway. So I've gone through a big process. This company's been around for 34 years. It's one of the gifts that I was given. You see that thing back there that says AA? Well, I've been clean and sober for 40 years, 40 and a half years. And you know, when you go through that process, you learn integrity, and you start feeling good about yourself, and you start doing clean business, and you start sleeping like a baby when your head hits the pillow. So I want to do the right thing by you, and I also want to do the right thing by my clients, the people whose names I sell. So if you ever ask yourself, John, how come you only sell numismatic coins, precious metal guys, and accredited investors? The numismatic and the coin guys and the metal guys, they get a tangible. So no matter how much you charge for that ounce of gold, he still has an ounce of gold. And the accredited investor, he's a freaking millionaire, and he's sophisticated. And if you close that guy, he probably did his homework, and you probably, you know, he went ahead and did his due diligence on you. You know, these guys are not dummies. You know, when people say, oh, I want 65 years or older, you know, you're not getting that from me because I don't sell that. Now, if the guy's accredited and he received a private placement memorandum and he's been vetted, yeah, I'll do that. So I hope I've given you enough information to be able to say to yourself, yeah, the guy's a little long-winded. He may be full of himself, but you know what? I got a feeling this guy's the real deal, and I am. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please call me at 561-239-0364. You have a beautiful day, and God bless.